I'm Hank, and it's time for my review of the Audio Technica ATR2100X. When you purchase the ATR2100X, you also get a lot of accessories, including a USB-C to USB-C cable, which is 6.5 feet, a USB-C to USB-A cable, which is also 6.5 feet, an XLR cable, which is over 9 feet long, a very short and fragile desk stand, a mic stand clip, and of course all the paperwork you would expect. Price-wise, the ATR2100X has a suggested retail price of $79 US. However, the new regular price appears to be $49. I purchased this particular unit a while back, and it was just $29. When it comes to the build quality, the microphone has a metal body with plastic on-off switch and dial. It has a very sturdy grill with a little bit of foam inside. At roughly 9.5 ounces, it does have a bit of heft to it. It has a mute switch that unfortunately makes an audible click when engaged. It also has a light indicator above the mute switch when in USB mode. And on the bottom of the microphone, you have an XLR and USB-C port, along with a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack and volume dial. Specs-wise, the ATR2100X is a cardioid dynamic microphone. It is capable of both XLR and USB connection. It has a frequency response of 50 Hz to 15 kilohertz. I couldn't find the sensitivity. However, it is really easy to drive. And in USB mode, it is capable of 24-bit and up to 192 kilohertz sample rate. While not provided in the accessories, I have a windscreen on it, but I'm going to take that off and we'll do the plosive test. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now I'm going to put on this little windscreen and we'll see if that helps mitigate some of those plosives. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now I'm going to shuffle off to the side just a couple of feet, and you can get a sense of what you'd pick up if you had another person in the room approximately 2 feet away from you. So this is roughly what you'd pick up if somebody else was in the room with you and they were off to the side a couple of feet. This is what it would sound like. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but from behind the microphone, approximately 2 feet away. All right, I'm a couple feet away from the back of the microphone, and if somebody was sitting across the desk from you talking into their own microphone, this is what it would pick up. Well, next I'm going to just type on the keyboard for just a few seconds just so you can get a sense of what all it might pick up. Now I'll try to be stealthy on the keyboard and see what it would pick up. When it comes to sound quality, I always like to include the Shure SM7B just as an anchor so you can hear that microphone and then hear whatever microphone I'm reviewing at the time. It just kind of gives you a sense of what a microphone would sound like in comparison to that. Not a direct apples to apples comparison, obviously. Price-wise, $399 versus this microphone that's $49. But sound profile-wise, it just kind of helps you understand where this sits in the hierarchy of audio. This is the Audio Technica ATR2100. Now I'm going to switch over to the Shure SM7B. Now I'm back on the Shure SM7B, and here's what it sounds like in comparison to the ATR2100X. I had to crank up the gain 8 to 10 dB in order to get in that same ballpark as I was in with the ATR2100X. So considerably much easier to drive than the Shure SM7B, obviously. I'll switch back to the ATR2100X. Sound-wise, how does it stack up against the Shure SM7B, in your opinion, at $350 less? I'll be curious to hear your thoughts, so chime in the comments down below, please. But this is the ATR2100X. I'll go back to the SM7B one more time. Just going back and forth a couple times, just so you can get a sense of how you think it stacks up in comparison to the ATR2100X. Not like you're going to say, hey, I was going to get a Shure SM7B, but instead I'll get this $49 mic. But since it's the ubiquitous microphone on the internet, it might as well be what we use to base the sound profile of every other mic we test, at least in my home studio. So this is the Shure SM7B, and for the remainder of the video, back to the ATR2100X. Back on the ATR2100X, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I'm going to give you a quick sample of how the microphone sounds in USB mode, and then I'll throw it into my video editor, do some editing, play back several times, and then I will come back with my final thoughts on this microphone. This is what it sounds like when it is connected via USB. I'm going to click the on-off switch a couple times. It makes a very noticeable audible click when you click that button on and off. Hank here, and I'm back with my pros, cons, and final thoughts on the ATR2100X. When it comes to pros, I'd have to say first and foremost, the price. This new, cheaper price at under $50 makes it a slam dunk, in my opinion. And catching it on some of those really hot sales, like I caught this one on for $29, is just an absolute time to stock up on them if you can get your hands on them at that price. Obviously, another pro would be the flexibility of having both USB and XLR. This series, its predecessor, was one of the first microphones to offer that, and I want to say that was back in like 2011 or some time way back there. And back then it was groundbreaking. Today you have a lot of options, but I still think this is a good option. Another pro is it comes with tons of accessories, but we'll come back to that. Another pro is I like the sound quality. I liked its predecessor, the ATR2100, and I certainly like the 2100X. Another pro, it has a solid build quality. There's a little bit of oomph to the weight, and I think they did a great job of putting this together. Another pro is the addition of the USB-C port. That is a huge welcome addition. I want to say the prior unit used the USB mini or micro, something along those lines, but it was a point of failure back in the day. I never had issues with it, but there were a lot of people who would leave the cord in there and they'd put it in their bag and it would make something come loose inside once it sustained some hits and such. I never had that happen to me, but I saw a lot of comments back in the day about that. And lastly, for the pros, I would have to say it is just simplistic to drive. You could pair this up with the UM2 by Behringer or any cheap audio interface, and you're going to have more than enough gain to drive it. On the other hand, though, when it comes to cons, I do have to say that while it was awesome of them to include a lot of accessories, that desk stand, you'll see tons of reviews online that it's just the cheapest thing ever. And it does look and feel very cheap. And the next two kind of go hand in hand because they could have included a windscreen and they didn't. Out of all those other accessories, you could have omitted one of them and included a windscreen because the other con, it's really bad with plosives. Typically stage mics like this are going to be really hard to mitigate plosives on, and this is no different. Another con is the audible click when you turn the switch off and then on. Doesn't seem like anybody can get that figured out. And the final con is the form factor. Some people will just be put off by this style of microphone being on camera. Overall, though, I think the microphone is a great starter microphone for the new and upcoming podcaster and content creator. It's going to be able to grow with you as you grow in content creation. So you can just plug it right into a computer, or you can hook it up to an audio interface as you start to invest more in your hobby or maybe your side hustle. I've been recommending its predecessor since about 2011, and the 2100X is no different. In my opinion, it holds its own with a lot of microphones that are well above its price point. But what do you think? Chime in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more. As always, thank you.